Hello, and welcome. Today, we're sharing a story about a powerful idea. The idea of never, ever giving up. Our story begins in a busy, small-town cafe kitchen. Here, amidst the steam and the sizzle, lived a young woman named Chloe. Chloe was an apprentice chef, someone who chopped vegetables and cleaned dishes. But while her hands handled the basic tasks, her heart was dreaming of culinary greatness. Her biggest dream, her most important goal, was to master the perfect soufflé. Not just any soufflé, a chocolate grand soufflé. A dish that is famously difficult, often collapsing into a sad puddle the moment it leaves the oven. She wanted to bake one so flawless, so tall, and so light, that it would be celebrated across the city. Chloe knew the recipe by heart. She read every baking book she could find. She even used the cafe's most expensive, specialized copper bowl for whisking the egg whites. But the soufflé was her Everest. One day, the head chef, a kind but very practical man named Chef Gerard, saw her pulling yet another flat, defeated dessert out of the oven.
Chloe, you work so hard, but this soufflé, it is too delicate. You have mastered the bread, the sauces, the stews. Maybe you should focus on those. This one is too risky, too advanced.
He said, with his soft voice. He wasn't trying to be cruel, he was trying to be realistic. He wanted to save her from disappointment. Chloe smiled, not with sadness, but with a deep, quiet resolve.
Chef Gerard, if the dream is big enough, the difficulty doesn't matter. I will simply whisk harder and watch closer.
She replied, looking at the collapsed dessert. This was Chloe's first great challenge. The dish was simply too hard. But instead of letting this be the end, she let it be the start of her real work. Chloe began her journey. She knew that since the dish was so precise, her effort had to be legendary. She spent months mastering the ingredients. She researched the exact temperature of the eggs. She learned how the humidity in the air affected the rise. She made the best of what she had, dedicating her precious time off to baking attempts. Then came the baking. Day after day, week after week, Chloe attempted the soufflé. She stayed late, cleaning the kitchen perfectly, so the slightest speck of grease wouldn't ruin the egg whites. First year, she focused on getting the batter right. Result? Hundreds of small, barely risen, burnt puddles. She threw them all away. Nothing to show but failure. Second year. She spent nearly 6 months tracking the exact oven temperature, knowing a 1-degree difference could be ruinous. She tried slow baking, fast baking. Nothing. The collapse was guaranteed. Third year. The frustration began to crush her. She would go home smelling of failure. Once, she miscalculated the sugar and the entire batch caramelized into rock candy. She felt a wave of crushing defeat. One morning, after a failed attempt at dawn, she came downstairs to find her childhood friend, Liam, waiting for her. Liam was a successful carpenter, known for his steady, reliable work.
Chloe, you look exhausted. Everyone admires your dedication. But are you sure this is still worth it? 3 years, Chloe. 3 years of effort. Maybe you should come and help me build things. It's solid, rewarding work.
Liam said gently. Chloe sat down, her shoulders slumped.
Liam, I have failed every day for 3 years. Every attempt has been wrong. Every hope has been dashed. I have nothing to show for it but empty bowls and bad desserts.
This is the moment that defines people. The moment when the mountain of effort seems to collapse into a pile of failure. This is the moment when most people, good people, talented people, choose to stop. But Chloe remembered her own words. If the dream is big enough, I will simply whisk harder. She stood up.
Thank you, Liam. But a carpenter doesn't stop hammering just because the first cut was crooked. He just measures twice and starts again.
Chloe's decision was simple. Failure wasn't a stop sign. It was just a heavy coat she had to shrug off and keep walking. She decided to change her approach entirely. Chloe understood that sheer effort alone wasn't enough. She had to become smarter about her effort. Steps. She realized she had stopped paying attention to the smallest details. She stopped focusing on the rise of the soufflé. She started focusing on the whisking speed and the folding technique. She realized her strong apprentice arms were folding the batter too quickly, collapsing the tiny air bubbles before they even made it to the oven. She needed to be gentler, slower, and more patient. She calculated the exact number of folds she needed for the perfect mix. She created a rhythm so precise it was terrifying. She marked off a single, early morning hour, 3 weeks away, when the kitchen would be completely quiet and cool. For those 3 weeks, Chloe lived and breathed that single moment. She cleaned her copper bowl one last time, checking every fold in the cloth. She weighed every ingredient perfectly. The morning arrived. Chloe stood at the counter. She wasn't tired. She wasn't nervous. She was simply ready. She mixed the base, and then came the crucial step, the egg whites. The first 5 minutes of folding passed. She moved slower than ever. She focused only on the texture. The next 3 minutes. Still, the texture seemed okay. Doubt began to whisper in her ear, "You were wrong. 5 years of work, and you were wrong." She closed her eyes for a split second, took a deep breath, and opened them again. She would follow her new, gentle rhythm until the last fold. And then, as she carefully poured the batter into the prepared dish, it didn't slosh. It held its shape. She slid it into the oven. She waited. For the first time, she wasn't anxious. She had done everything right. The effort was now the oven's problem. When the time was up, Chloe opened the oven door. It was magnificent. The chocolate grand soufflé had risen tall, proud, and perfectly golden brown. It was flawless. She knew, with quiet certainty, that she had finally done it. She had found the perfect balance of heat, air, and patience. Then, she wrote a single word in her journal: mastered. Chloe's masterpiece was later tasted by the city's food critics. They were stunned. How could an apprentice with simple kitchen equipment produce what famous chefs struggled with? The answer was simple, and it's the message for all of us. Chloe's first 3 years were not a failure. They were a necessary, difficult, 5-year lesson. She didn't find the perfect soufflé right away because she wasn't ready to bake it yet. She needed those years to become smart enough, patient enough, and dedicated enough to achieve it. Never giving up is not just about keeping your hands busy. It's about adjusting. When one door is locked, whisking fast, you try a different window, folding slow. Learning, you use every sad, flat mistake as a blueprint for a new, better plan. Believing, you trust that the time you put in is never wasted. Whether your dream is a new career, mastering a musical instrument, finishing a project, or simply improving yourself, the path will be full of collapses. Don't let those collapses define you. Let them train you. Like Chloe, use your old, simple tools, your mind, your time, and your effort, with fierce dedication. Keep folding. Keep trying. Keep going. You have the resilience within you to bake your own masterpiece. Thank you for watching.